Thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video, yeah! In Forsaken, there's a total of 7 different killers, each with their own abilities, playstyles, and stats. While you can win with all of them, some are definitely better than others. In this video, I'm going to be showcasing all their abilities, give tips on how to use them, then give my personal ranking of how good they are on a tier list. I made a video like this a while ago, but we've gotten 2 new killers since then, and a bunch of balance changes, so it's time for an update. Personally, I'm not a professional Forsaken player, so I got a ton of help from my friend Mikil, who was an absolute sweat at the game, with over 1,000 hours total on the game across his different accounts. He also helped me get collective feedback from a bunch of pros in the competitive Forsaken community, so please go give him some support. With that said, hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get started. For our first killer, we have the default Slasher. It is a 2-star difficulty with a relatively simple moveset. He has 1,250 health, a walk speed of 9, a sprint speed of 28, and a terror radius of 45 studs. 45 studs is a bit less than usual, making it easier for Slasher to sneak up on survivors. The first ability is Slash, attacking in front of them after a 0.2 second windup and dealing 20 damage. It also inflicts bleeding 1 for 5 seconds for a total of 28 damage. This has a cooldown of 1.9 seconds. Their second ability is Behead. Slasher lunges forward, performing a large swing. It deals 20 damage and applies helpless 1 to the survivor for 8 seconds. This prevents them from using any abilities, so it can be quite detrimental. After using this ability, Slasher gains slowness 1 for 2 seconds, and it has a cooldown of 18 seconds. Their third ability is Gashing Wound. Slasher stands in place, then slashes forwards, and if landed, he performs a combo, dealing a total of 50 damage. Finally, their last ability is Raging Pace. Slasher becomes enraged and can no longer sprint. However, their walk speed is increased from 9 to 19, and their stamina starts to regenerate until capped at 70. They are also completely stun immune. This lasts for 14 seconds or when they use any of their moves. If using Slash, they perform a forwards lunge, dealing 25 damage. If using Behead, they deal 35 damage. If using Gashing Wound, they deal a whopping 70 damage. The Slasher's main goal is to simply chase after survivors and gradually chip them down using their abilities. Their Slash is arguably one of the best M1s in the game, coming out very quickly and having a solid hitbox, making it easy to land. Because of this, majority of his playstyle is just trying to land M1s, which is why he's quite simple to play. When chasing you, they can utilize their Raging Pace once they run out of stamina, boosting their walk speed and regaining stamina. This can help them deal with survivors looping them. It can make it very difficult for new players to escape high-skill slashers. Behead can also be used to catch survivors off guard, since you can use it quickly after a slash, lunging forward and punching them with helpless. Gashing Wound in most scenarios is quite useless, since you'll never be able to land it mid-chase. However, it can be used against survivors who are focused on generators, especially since your chase music plays much closer to the other killers, making it easier to sneak up. It's also a great option for punishing missed abilities, like a guest missing a block or Shaleski missing a slash. 50 damage is a lot, so if you do land this, the survivor is usually screwed. But even with Raging Pace, Slasher struggles heavily with looping. You'll likely spend most of the game just trying to catch up, while every other killer has some kind of method for dealing with this or damaging them from a distance. Sure, Raging Pace does help, but not nearly as much as something like Entanglement from 1x or Void Rush on Noli. But if you have managed to catch up, he is very powerful with an easy to hit M1 and a variety of different abilities to deal good damage. But if you're an LMS and trying to catch someone who's really good at looping, good luck. For this reason, I think Slasher is still in the C tier. He can seem really good against new players, but in decent lobbies, he struggles. For our next killer, we have Coolkidd. They have a 3-star difficulty, which in my opinion should be at most a 2-star difficulty. I personally think they're the easiest killer to play. Coolkidd has 800 health, a walk speed of 7.75, a sprint of 28, and a terror radius of 60 studs. The first ability is Punch, attacking fours with a small square hitbox. This is a windup of 0.1 seconds and deals 26.5 damage. This is the fastest M1 in the game, which makes up for its small hitbox. It is a cooldown of 2 seconds. The second ability is Corrupt Nature. Coolkidd immediately shoots out a projectile, which can go through walls and multiple survivors. Survivors hit are inflicted with slowness 1 for 4 seconds, their aura is highlighted to the killer for 10 seconds, and they take 15 damage. This is a cooldown of 12 seconds. Their third ability is Walk Speed Override. After a short windup, Coolkidd lunges forward, traveling a large distance. This cannot be steered while moving, so if you miss, goodbye. If hitting a survivor, they deal 32 damage and apply Burning 1 for 8 seconds for a whopping 47 damage total. If crashing into a wall, this move is immediately ended. Their final ability is Pizza Delivery. Coolkidd stands in place and hits the ground, summoning 2 pizza delivery bots. They automatically travel towards the closest survivor, aiming to attack them. If connecting, they deal 15 damage, apply Burning 1 and slowness 3 for 3 seconds for a total of 20 damage. It also highlights the survivor's location to the killer for 15 seconds. They move quite slow, but gain a small speed boost if the survivor is more than 70 studs away. Coolkidd is a quite easy killer to play, but still very powerful. While their M1 is smaller than average, the quick windup makes it very good, since it's extremely easy to hit as long as you're close enough. This makes it very consistent. Corrupt Nature is a great projectile for several reasons. It comes out super quick, so it can be used mid-chase when nearby, and if landed, not only does it chip the survivor's health down, it applies slowness, making it significantly easier to catch up, and often resulting in a free kill. Corrupt Nature can also be used if you're being looped around a wall or object, since it can travel through stuff, although this does take some prediction and luck. Walk Speed Override is an incredibly strong move for many reasons. Due to how long it travels, it's a great form of movement if you're far away from any survivor. But if you're mid-chase, try and use it when you're relatively close by or in a tight corridor, corridor, since if you miss it, you're gonna lose a ton of distance. When using it nearby, however, it's very easy to hit with a large hitbox and fast movement. And 47 damage is crazy. It's basically just gashing wound, but over a long distance. Finally, the pizza bots are a fantastic tool for Coolkidd and essential for them to win. First of all, it's their only way of finding survivors since they don't have any basic detection ability. They have to follow their boss to find anyone. But they're also great anti-looping tools. You can place them at one end of a loop, then travel the other way yourself, and the survivor will either have to run through the bots or through you. This makes them much better at dealing with looping than Slasher, and overall, they just have much better, more versatile, and stronger abilities. Because of that, I'm gonna place them as a solid A tier. I don't think they're as strong as they used to be, but it's still a very solid and consistent killer who isn't too map dependent like some others. For our next killer, we have 1x1x1x1. This killer recently just got a brand new rework, significantly changing most of their abilities and stats. If you want a detailed review of what changed, check out my video I made about that. They have a 4-star difficulty, being reliant on good aim and prediction. 1x has 1100 health, a walk speed of 8.5, a sprint speed of 27, and a tear radius of 60 studs. Their first ability is Slash, which has a rectangular hitbox and has a windup of 0.4 seconds. It deals 20 damage and applies Glitched and Poison 1 for 5 seconds for a total of 28 damage. Glitched is a disorienting effect, which makes you cannot see your stamina or health, which is quite annoying. This is a powerful M1, but keep in mind the poison effect cannot kill you. Their second ability is Mass Infection. After a long windup, 1x shoots out a large projectile, which essentially has full map range and can travel through walls. It deals 30 damage and applies poison for a total of 38 damage. This also deals an extra 10 damage if the survivor has the glitched effect. If used point blank, it deals a whopping 73 damage, making this technically the strongest ability in the game. Once the projectile is shot, 1x gains a 25% speed boost for 1 second and can immediately move, sort of dashing forwards. This has a cooldown of 14 seconds, so it can be used quite often. Their third ability is Entanglement. 1x quickly shoots out a small projectile that travels fast, but only lasts 1 second. If hitting a survivor, it deals 15 damage and inflicts Glitch 1 and Helpless for 6 seconds. It also pulls the survivor towards 1x and stuns the survivor for 1 second. This has a cooldown of 15 seconds, which is also very short. Their fourth ability is Unstable Eye. 1x stabs her own eye, inflicting blindness 3 for 7 seconds and getting speed 2 for 1.25 seconds. It also reveals all players in the map for 8 seconds, with the color of the highlight depending on their health. This helps you locate vulnerable players, finishing them off. You can use this while walking, however, you cannot sprint. His final ability is Rejuvenate the Rotten. 1x stabs himself, summoning minions from every kill survivor. These minions wander around randomly until a survivor is nearby, then chase after them. They have 25 health and inflict Poison 1, Glitch 1, and show the survivor's location for 8 seconds, dealing a total of 14 damage. 1x can kill their own minions, gaining stacking levels of speed, making it easier to chase after survivors. This ability has a cooldown of 30 seconds, but minions can only be summoned once per killed survivor. This new rework was definitely a great buff for 1x in multiple ways, making his mass infection much larger and quicker. Entanglement has become more consistent since console players used to be able to instantly escape his minigame, and the minions overall deal much more damage through poison. Mass infection giving a speed boost after using also makes him much more usable mid-chase, being a high damage, easy to hit projectile, while also not guaranteeing the survivor escaping if used. It's now easier to use to deal significant damage or finish off survivors. Entanglement is also an incredibly strong catch-up tool, with a 1 second stun either granting huge damage or closing a ton of distance. You can't make the same across the map snipes anymore, but those weren't the main use of Entanglement anyways. Due to its smaller hitbox, it should be used at a medium distance, so lifespan nerf didn't really matter. Unstable Eye being able to use while walking is super useful as well, since you can use it right before your stamina bar has fully recharged, getting a solid speed boost and closing more distance. This was definitely a very helpful and powerful addition, given that looping has been 1x's biggest issue for a long time. He can definitely have some insane games, landing all their projectiles, and feeling completely unstoppable. For this reason, there's definitely many people that will think he's the strongest killer in the game, but unfortunately that's not the case. He's still largely dependent on his projectiles, with Entanglement easily being his strongest asset. If you don't land these, you will not win. And while Mass Infection got a size and speed increase, you still have to rely on prediction and luck in order to land these, so sometimes you'll just completely whiff everything, since the person you're aiming at seems to be controlled by 7 different squirrels that all work together to move as unpredictably as possible. Still, I say he's a solid killer, much better than before. So, mid A tier, below Coolkidd. I say Coolkidd is a lot more consistent, while 1x has much more potential to either be contributing nothing or carrying the whole game. Personally, over the span of an entire game, I say consistency is much better, but I understand if some people disagree. For our next killer, we have Noli. It's the first killer of this video with a 5-star difficulty, which I don't really agree with, but I kind of understand. They're complicated, but not exactly difficult to use. Noli has 1111 health, a walk speed of 7.5, a sprint speed of 27.5, and a tear radius of 80 studs, which is tied for the highest in the game. They have 2 passive abilities, with the first one, Hallucinations, easily being the most interesting one in the game. Many of Noli's different abilities will apply a hidden status effect known as Hallucination. Any level of hallucination will highlight your location to Noli for its duration. They also cause a variety of different hallucinations, with the intensity depending on its level. There are a lot of things that can happen, so I'm not going to mention all of it, but at earlier levels, fake pizzas will appear, the timer will show incorrect times, etc. aura, and at max level, a fake clone of Noli will spawn, which will attack you, appearing to deal damage, but once the hallucination ends, all this damage is healed back. None of his hallucinations can actually harm you, they are just meant to disorient you. Hallucination is instantly removed once Noli hits you. Their second passive ability is Prankster. At the beginning of each round, Noli spawns several fake generators in spots where regular generators could have spawned. If survivors complete a fake generator puzzle, they gain a level of hallucination. Fully completing a fake generator instantly grants hallucination 3. You can tell if a generator is fake based on the noises it makes, which I'll play right now. You can also see some exposed wires out at the front. Their first ability is Stab, where Noli attacks forwards with the default rectangular hitbox. It is a windup of 0.35 seconds and deals 25 damage. Their second ability is Void Rush. In order to activate it, you have to hold down the activation key for 1 second. If released early, it will be cancelled. Noli begins rapidly flying forwards, which can be steered side to side, but slowly. If hitting into a survivor, it deals 10 damage and applies hallucination 2. Noli can then use Void Rush again and either keep hitting new survivors, chaining hit after hit, or attack a survivor with hallucination 2, which then performs a slam, dealing 30 extra damage. So, by hitting the same survivor twice, you deal a total of 40 damage. The next ability is Nova. Noli slows down and throws his Void Star forwards. Upon hitting a survivor or wall, it will explode, having a large radius that pulls survivors in, dealing 15 damage. If it lands on the floor, it has a smaller explosion. It can also be manually exploded by clicking the ability again, but this has the same smaller explosion. Their final ability is Observant. Noli slows down dramatically, and all generators are revealed. Generators have a warning sign displayed above them, alerting survivors that this ability is currently being used. When clicking on a generator, Noli will teleport after a 1.45 second window. Survivors will be inflicted with various levels of hallucination, depending on how far away they are. 20 studs or more gives hallucination 1, 60 or more gives hallucination 2, and 100 or more gives hallucination 3. So the farther away the survivors are, the stronger the effect. Noli can be a very powerful killer, with many arguing it's the best in the game. Its abilities are super versatile, starting with Void Rush. Void Rush is arguably their best ability. You could kind of consider this a buff version of Walk Speed Override, being able to damage multiple survivors and dealing a similar amount of damage if connecting with the same survivor twice, which isn't that difficult to do, plus you're able to steer it. And the fact that you can cancel it makes it much less punishing the miss, as you'll only suffer some slowness, while Coolkidd completely removes himself from the chase with a bad whiff. It's also a fantastic movement tool due to the large distance it travels, and the steering allows you to travel to more specific spots rather than just in open spaces like Walk Speed Override. Honestly, Noli's moveset is similar to Coolkidd, so I'll be comparing them a decent amount. Nova is like an easier to hit but less valuable version of Coolkidd's projectile. It is a large explosion, but doesn't apply any slowness and cannot go through walls. This means Nova is better on larger, more empty maps since it's easier to hit from a long distance, while Corrupt Nature is better on more cramped maps since it can be used to deal with tight looping. Do note, however, Nova can be hit through walls, so it can be used against people who tightly loop against them. This is quite inconsistent though, as it's very easy to move away from the wall once you hear Noli loudly using Nova. Observant is an incredible ability, and I'd say it's at least the second best asset. Not only does it apply hallucination to almost everyone on the map, disorienting them and highlighting their location, it's also obviously an amazing movement tool. When starting Last Man Standing, is usually a big time loss if the survivor is on the other side of the map. With Noli, you can teleport right to them. It can also be used to cut off survivors mid-chase, and it makes Noli a persistent threat no matter where he is. I would say all of his abilities are great, making an overall powerful but not too difficult to use killer. Because of that, I'm going to put them in A tier, one spot above Coolkidd. You could definitely argue Coolkidd is better, but personally I think Noli's abilities are a bit more consistent while remaining powerful, while Coolkidd's are more precise and risky while carrying a larger reward. I think consistency is overall more important, but it depends on the player. But while Noli may be in the A tier, there's something I'd easily put in the S tier. The sponsor of this video, War Thunder, yeah baby! That was so corny, I'm sorry. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, and you can play for free on PC, consoles, and mobile devices. There's over 2,500 different tanks, planes, and helicopters you can use, along with ships of 10 major nations, ranging from biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to modern-day fighter jets and battle tanks. They pretty much got it all. You can really immerse yourself in the game's intense combat with incredibly detailed vehicles, realistic graphics, and authentic sound effects, placing you in control of the most powerful war machines of our time. The vehicles you use take realistic damage, as different components can be destroyed or disabled, each playing a crucial part of your vehicle's performance rather than just a basic health bar. One of my personal favorite parts is the impressive X-ray view of damage, letting you see exactly how screwed you are after taking a big hit. You can also fully customize your vehicles with countless camouflages, historical markings, and all types of decorations, even ones created by the community. The game has a worldwide community with over 95 million players in huge PvP battles, which you can join at any time. They have just released a new mobile version available on Android and iOS, allowing you to play anywhere. everywhere. So make sure to check out War Thunder. There's links in both the description and pinned comment. If you're a new player or a returning player on PC or console that hasn't played for 6 months, if you sign up using my link, you'll get a massive bonus pack, including the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of premium account. This bonus is only available for a limited time. With that said, let's get back to the video. For our next killer, we have the Bat Boy Nosferatu. They have a 4-star difficulty. Nosferatu has 1700 health, a walk speed of 7.25, and a sprint speed of 27.5. They have a terror radius of 60. They have one passive ability, that being levitation. All it does is make Nosferatu's footsteps silent, which is kind of pointless since you'll be able to hear his chase theme anyways with a terror radius of 60. His first ability is Lacerate. He attacks forward with a windup of 0.3 seconds, dealing 24 damage. This has a cooldown of 2 seconds. Their second ability is Blood Hook. Nosferatu slows down, throwing out a hook in front of him. If connecting with a survivor, it deals 15 damage and a minigame will begin where both the survivor and Nosferatu have to click the correct keys on the screen. The faster Nosferatu clicks, the quicker the survivor will be pulled in. The faster the survivor clicks, the quicker they will escape. If the survivor is pulled all the way towards Nosferatu, he kicks them away, dealing an additional 20 damage. However, if the ability was used within 24 studs of the survivor, the second kick will only deal 3 damage, since it's very hard to escape from such a close distance. Nosferatu is briefly given helpless and slowness 2 after the kick. However, if the survivor escapes, Nosferatu only receives helpless 2. This has a cooldown of 30 seconds, but this is reduced to only 20 if missed. Their third ability is Cataclysm. After a quick windup, Nosferatu gains immense speed, leaving a small trail behind him. After 1.25 seconds, he teleports back to his original location, with the trail exploding, dealing 10 damage to any survivors within. It also leaves blood on the ground, which inflicts survivors with bleeding 2 and slowness 2 for 5 seconds if walked into. It also reveals their location to Nosferatu. This blood pool lasts for 12 seconds, and the ability has a short cooldown of 25 seconds. Their fourth ability is Hunter's Feast. After a short windup, Nosferatu releases a swarm of bats that flies forward. If hitting a survivor, they get Creatures 1 and Oblivious 1 for 10 seconds, while Nosferatu gains Invisibility 4 and Undetectable for 10 seconds. Creatures is basically just weakness, making survivors take 25% more damage. The swarm of bats can be redirected back to where the cursor is pointed by clicking the ability again, making it easier to hit if you're very skilled. But personally, I find this pretty hard to control. Their second ability is Ascension. Nosferatu leaps into the air, then transforms into a bat. You can flap your wings by pressing space, flying in the air. Your movement speed is also greatly increased, allowing you to get pretty much anywhere you want on the map very quickly. If using Lacerate, you will dive diagonally downwards, and if connecting with a survivor, you'll latch onto them, dealing 5 damage, then an additional 5 to 25 damage depending on how far you traveled. If you end up missing, you'll be inflicted with slowness 3 and helpless 1 for 2.5 seconds. While in the air, your terror radius is reduced, making it much easier to sneak up on survivors. It is surprisingly hard to see Nosferatu in the air since the bat model is so small. This ability can last for a total of 10 seconds, and has a cooldown of 35 seconds. Nosferatu's moveset is very powerful on paper, but its stats hold him back. Ascension is easily the best movement ability in the game, allowing Nosferatu to precisely and quickly get to any point on the map without any clear indication on where he's going, and if connected, it can deal some solid damage. Cataclysm is also a pretty good move, being able to cut off survivors running away from you or block off exits, acting like a sort of trapping move, although the blood puddles disappear quite quickly. Unfortunately, Cataclysm is very easy to avoid, with survivors usually being fine as long as they continue running forwards. If it lasted a little longer, allowing you to create a bigger radius around survivors, it would be very powerful, but currently it's quite lacking. Bloodhook is a great distance closer, but since it's best used at long distances, it faces similar issues with entanglement since it relies on prediction and a fair amount of luck, ultimately making it quite inconsistent. While it can clutch up games, it's not something that will reliably get you kills. Hunter's Feast is an alright move, but it doesn't really provide that much usefulness. And while applying weakness is nice, it doesn't matter if you aren't able to catch up. This is also where another one of Nosferatu's issues come up, is speed. While he's extremely fast using some of his abilities, his walk speed and sprint speed is below average, making it difficult for him to catch up normally. He's not as slow as 1x, but it's still very noticeable. And his most glaring issue is his unfortunate lack of damage. His M1 is easily the worst in the game, having a slow windup and only dealing 24 damage without any additional status effects. You have to put in much more effort to kill anyone compared to other killers. Like walk speed override deals 47 damage, Mass Affection could one-shot some survivors, Void Rush does a ton of damage if chained, while Nosferatu's strongest move deals at most 30 damage and is quite difficult to land. Because it is, I unfortunately have to place him in the B tier. I think Ascension is an amazing ability thanks to the movement, and Bloodhook / Cataclysm can be helpful, but he's definitely overrated. I see shorts saying he's the best killer in the game, and that's definitely not true. For our next killer, we have one of my favorites, John Doe. They have a 5-star difficulty, which in my opinion is justified. This killer takes a lot of skill to use right. They have 1,500 health, a walk speed of 9, a sprint speed of 27.25, and a terror radius of 60 studs. John has 2 passive abilities, their first one being Natural Malevolence. He leaves a trail behind him as he walks, which if any survivors walk into, they are inflicted with Corrupted 2 for 3 seconds, damaging their health. Their second passive ability is unstoppable. If using corrupt energy or 404 error and getting stunned by a survivor, they will only be stunned for 2 seconds. On top of that, John Doe will roar and gain speed 1 for 3 seconds. The duration of the speed is increased by 1 second for each sentinel survivor currently alive. Pretty gnarly. Their first ability is Slash. John Doe attacks forward after a 0.4 second windup. This is the slowest M1 in the game, but deals a whopping 28 damage, making it the strongest. It has a short cooldown of 1.75 seconds. Their second ability is Corrupt Nature. John Doe stabs in place, punching the ground. 27 spikes then emerge in succession, appearing in the direction John Doe is facing. This means you can aim the spikes mid-ability by looking around. They deal 12 damage each, and the survivor can be hit up to 4 times for a total of 48 damage. These spikes form a wall that survivors and killers cannot walk through and last for 14 seconds, so they can be utilized to block off exits. John Doe gains speed 1 for 7 seconds if hitting a survivor. Their third ability is Digital Footprint. John Doe stomps on the ground, forming a shadow puddle at their feet. If any survivors walk into this, they are inflicted with Corrupted 1 and Slowness 2 for 10 seconds, and they are highlighted to the killer. John also gains speed 1 for 10 seconds, so if you walk into one of these traps, GG's man. You can also have up to 3 traps active at once, and they have an infinite duration, only disappearing upon being touched by a survivor. This ability has a short cooldown of 3 seconds. His final ability is 404 Error, which is a simple detection ability, highlighting all survivors on the map for 6 seconds. John Doe is difficult to use, but has an incredible amount of potential. Their best asset is 100% their traps, as they can be used to cut off powerful loops, making them the best anti-loop option in the game. While heavily dependent on maps, using traps correctly can make John Doe an absolute menace and nearly impossible to escape. Corrupt Energy is fantastic too, both being powerful, long range, and blocking off survivors. It's great on maps like Horror Hotel, sometimes making it impossible for survivors to escape as you block off every choke point. His passive abilities are fantastic too, with the trail being very annoying to avoid while strafing, often dealing free chip damage, and Unstoppable enabling a tech known as parrying. If you are able to predict when a sentinel is going to use a stun, you can use either Corrupt Energy or 404 Error. 404 Error is the best since it activates instantly, and not only reduce the stun to 2 seconds, but gain a huge speed boost, making stuns actually a good thing for you. This takes one of the best tools for helping other survivors and makes it into a potential risk, since you might just be buffing John Doe and putting yourself in harm's way. This, added with the highest damaging M1 in the game and a great no drawback detection ability, makes John Doe in my opinion the best killer in the game. But take that with a grain of salt. On certain maps he can be unstoppable, while on more open maps he's not nearly as good. Yet even on his worst maps, John Doe is a great killer, so I think it's fair to put him as our first killer in the S tier. He takes a lot of skill and strategy to use, but whoo-wee, he can be good. With that said, our final killer of this video is Guest 666, the biggest boy. They have a 3-star difficulty. Guest 666 has 2,500 health, a walk speed of 9, a sprint speed of 27, and a terror radius of 80. They have 3 passive abilities, which is the most of any killer. The first one is Manic Fixation. Guest 666 will gradually gain speed while running towards highlighted survivors, up to 10% extra speed. However, if they are outside of chase radius, this can go up to 20%. If there are highlighted survivors within 30 studs, Guest 666 will always gain the speed boost regardless of what direction they are running in. Their second passive ability is Hellforce Wall. Guest straight up reduces any negative status effects like Helpless and stuns by 25%. Very nice. Their final passive ability is Bloodhound. Several of their moves inflict a status effect known as Hemorrhage. When a survivor has this status, their health bar is progressively covered by vines. Health covered cannot be healed back. Survivors under the effect will also occasionally drop blood orbs, which gives 6 or 15 blood on contact. This status can be removed with the help of other survivors or using a medkit. Sixer's cooldowns also got reduced by 3 seconds for each blood orb collected, and killing survivor gives 30 blood. And all of his moves can hit multiple survivors at once. They have a total of 5 abilities, with the first one being Carving Slash. He attacks forward with a 0.3 second windup, dealing 20 damage. This grants 10 blood. If hitting a survivor, they can hold down the attack to perform an additional hit, dealing an extra 10 damage and lunging forwards. This second hit has a cooldown of 8 seconds, but this is reduced by 50% if landed. Their second ability is Demonic Pursuit. As you hold down the ability, Sixer will crouch down, charging the ability until you let go or it's fully charged. They then leap forwards with the speed and distance depending on how long it's been charged. This can be aimed upwards, allowing you to perform some pretty crazy jumps and shortcuts. If connecting with a survivor, Sixer slashes into them, dealing 26 damage and getting 20 blood. Their third ability is Infernal Cry. Guest roars, shooting out a shockwave wherever you are facing. This can travel through walls, has a huge hitbox, and travels instantly. Pretty much impossible to miss. This deals 0 damage, however it gives them blindness 2 for 4 seconds and forces them to face you. It also gives them hemorrhage and they drop 2 blood orbs. They also become highlighted for 12 seconds, which is a big deal since it activates the passive ability Manic Fixation, making making you faster. Their final ability is Blood Rush. Guess stands in place, sniffing for blood. Every survivor is highlighted, with the duration increasing depending on their distance, with survivors 200 studs away being highlighted for an impressive 20 seconds. Again, this activates Manic Fixation, speeding you up. However, if Sixer has filled their blood meter, this ability is replaced with Blood Hunt. Once activated, they let out a scream that can be heard across the map, resetting all their cooldowns, and starting a Blood Hunt which lasts for 25 seconds. This buffs the hell out of Guest, and it's their main goal to try and activate as much as possible. During a chase, Blood Hunt's timer will decrease twice as slow, and if you kill a survivor, all of your cooldowns are reset, the duration of Blood Hunt is increased by 15 seconds. So it's a snowballing move. His abilities are all improved, with Demonic Pursuit now dealing extra damage depending on how much hemorrhage the survivor has, up to a total of 40 damage. Infernal Cry now deals 10 damage, the blindness lasts 6 seconds, and gives Guest Speed 1 for 3 seconds and Strength 1 for 8 seconds. The Shockwave is 10% smaller, but it's definitely still a huge buff. Guest 666 has been the worst killer in the game for a while now, but he did recently get a nice buff, which helps him out. His abilities are definitely very powerful, which makes him on paper sound super broken. Demonic Pursuit is a fast sleeping ability, both working for movement and damage. It can also be very easy to hit in an open area, since you can aim it without charging and you leap too quickly to dodge. However, this is easily countered by Guest, who can block and punch you. Their M1 is fantastic as well, mainly because of the secondary attack. The lunge makes it super easy to hit and makes Guest 666 much more difficult to strafe. It also gives them free distance, helping them catch up. Infernal Cry is basically impossible to miss, granting speed, blood, and even strength during Blood Hunt. During Blood Hunt, you want to be using this as much as possible, as it deals chip damage, speeds you up, and overall just makes you more of a threat. Blood Rush is arguably one of the best detection abilities in the game, lasting for a long time and activating Manic Fixation. And Blood Hunt is crazy when activated, with him arguably being the strongest killer in the game during it. However, Blood Hunt is only active for a percentage of the game, and he has a very big problem. Emphasis on the big. He is so freaking fat. Now, you might be wondering why this is an issue, but if you ever tried playing him, you can get looped around anything due to his size. Doing circles around a table is a nightmare, which is why looping is the #1 thing holding him back. Fortunately, their Manic Fixation has recently been buffed to automatically activate if a survivor is within 30 studs, so you will progressively gain speed when getting looped around a small object. But this is still a gradual speed gain, and it's still a nightmare to catch anyone. You can also use Demonic Pursuit to hop over these objects. However, this can be pretty difficult to land, and it's quite punishing if you miss. Because of his issues of looping, Manic Fixation should be a big priority for you. So try to keep survivors highlighted as much as you can using your various abilities. If he was simply reduced in size or hitbox, he'd be fantastic, but I think Manic Fixation is going to be needing more of a buff for him to actually become meta. Because it is, I'm going to be putting them at the bottom of A tier. You have to be quite good at snowballing to use them properly, and if you can't get some kills started at the beginning of the game, you're likely not going to win. He's super momentum based, but if you can get that ball rolling, he is a beast. They have some clear strengths, but also glaring issues. And with that said, we have finally finished this video. This is my final tier list. Make sure to screenshot this and make fun of me, because it's impossible to make a tier list that everyone agrees with, but hopefully you at least understand my reasoning and why I made these decisions. Once again, thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. If you want to play it, now is the best time, as you can get a massive bonus pack if you sign up using the links in my description or pinned comment. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to comment down below which one of these killers is your favorite, regardless of how good they are, and make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed. And again, huge shout out to Meatkill for helping me a ton with making this video. With that said, I'll see you guys in the next one.